If you are looking to apply for a mortgage or you're already applying for a mortgage, you would have been asked for some documentation. So, documentation is just one of those things that some people seem to get wrong, and it causes frustration for your advisors, your mortgage lenders, and obviously you when you have to go and get them again or they're not in the right format. So, the idea of today's video is to tell you exactly what format these documents should be in, how to download them, what they should look like, so that you get this right first time, saving you frustration and ultimately getting your mortgage application in quicker. So what I'll do is run through everything and give you a few hints and tips on how you can do this to make sure that you get your application in and it's all processed as quickly as it possibly can do. And we're going to do that right now. So I'm going to run through this really quickly and just to let you know exactly what it is that your documents and everything should look like as and when you send them in. Yes, this isn't the most exciting video in the world, but watching this may just help, okay? If we just firstly look at what we're going to cover. So I'm going to go through it to tell you exactly what sort of documents you're going to need, whether it be ID, proof of address, what types of things you'll need to improve your income, whether you're employed or self-employed, what proof of deposit that you'll need, obviously if you're purchasing, and if we've asked you for bank statements, what they need to look like as well. And I realize some of these things may sound really obvious, but actually you'd be surprised how many times these things go wrong. As this is on YouTube as well, these will be broken up into chapters. So if you're only looking to see the proof of income section, just click on the chapters icon and you could jump straight to that. So I'm going to watch everything else. Okay. So what we'll do, run through. So let's start with ID. So ID, let's get my head out of the way. That'll be good. So ID needs to start off really obviously with a passport. Okay. So if you don't have a passport or a driver license, have a chat with your lender, have a chat with your broker. They can tell you what the alternatives will be. But the important thing about a passport is that you get the entire document. And the app that we always recommend for this is an app called Genius Scan. I'll leave a link to that in the description underneath. You can get that on Apple and Android. And that will talk you through how to do this. So you can basically get your passport, take a photograph of it, and it will turn it into a document that you can send in to us that will look a little bit like this. The important part is that the entire document is on there. So for example, down there, you can see all of these numbers and lines down here, and you can see all of the data up here. The photograph is sometimes a pain because obviously when you take a photograph of it, because of the image and the security things on there, they can be quite difficult and they flash. But you need to get that because we do need to be able to see your photograph clearly. So the entire document as clearly as you possibly can do. As well as that, driver's license, exactly the same idea. Again, you can use Genius Scan for this. Put this on a flat surface, use Genius Scan, hover the app over the top. It'll detect the document on its own, and then you can take the photograph of it and then send that directly in to your broker. Now, when it comes to proof of address, this is where things start to get a little bit more difficult. So the things that we're going to need from you are going to be things like a gas bill, an electricity bill, a council tax bill, that type of thing. But it has to actually look like one. So we've had some examples of these where they've been downloaded online or they've been copy and pasted online. What we really need is a PDF document, which shows exactly like this. You can generally get these online from your provider by logging into your online account. And again, the idea is we need to see your full address on them. We need to see the date that it was issued. Generally, that will need to be within the last 2 months of your application. We need to see an account number and we need to see the full document, okay? Similarly, if you were going to be looking at a water bill, same idea, needs to have your address, your full name, ideally, an account number, and a date as well. So as long as you can tick those boxes, and again, it needs to look like a PDF. So you cannot, for example, take a photograph of a computer screen or anything like that will not be acceptable. If you have got a physical document, again, just use the Genius Scan app. If you can download it from an online system, that's fine. Just download it as a PDF and you can send that straight into us. Moving on to employed income, the obvious ones are going to be pay slips that you're going to ask you for. And again, we know that pay slips come in various different shapes and forms. There's not a one size fits all for this. But as a general rule, we need to see who you're working for, your name on there. These need to be the last 3 months at least. We sometimes ask for more than that, but it'll be at least 3. And obviously what you've been paid and what deductions are coming out of it. Okay. Another example of that is payslips can sometimes look a bit like this. And again, similarly, it's the same thing applies. It needs to show your full name, who you're working for, ideally a sort of a national insurance number, but that's not the end of the world. And obviously your net pay. And again, these need to be downloaded ideally as a PDF file. So if you've got an online system that your employer uses, then you can log into that, download it as a PDF and send it across to us. Again, if you've got it physical, use that Genius Scan app, just scan that and send it in. What we cannot take is we cannot take screenshots. We cannot take photographs of a screen. We can't do any of those things. If you send those into us, we are going to ask you for them again. So to save the frustration, don't send those into us. When it comes to self-employed income, we're going to ask you for the last 3 years self-employed income. Now, this does vary on case by case. So if we've asked you for more or less, then that's fine. But as a general rule, we will ask you for the last 3. And there's 2 things that we're going to need from you. So we're going to need your tax calculations. And an example of that is now on the screen. So this will show exactly what you've earned and where it's come from, how your tax has been calculated, and then what you owe at the end. This needs to show your unique taxpayer reference number on the top and the date on it as well. And again, we're going to ask you for the last 3 years. You can download these from your tax account online. You just jump onto the HMRC website and you can log in and download these from there. If you don't know how to do it, an accountant can do this for you. They're going to be more than used to these types of requests. And as well as that, you're going to be asked for a tax overview. This is what a tax overview will look like. And really what we're looking for here is you are looking at how much tax is due, and then has it been paid and when did you pay it? And again, this will cover the last 3 years and needs to show your tax reference number up there because the lender wants to make sure that the tax has been paid when it's due. Moving on to proof of deposit. Again, this may seem obvious, but again, this will only apply if you're going to be purchasing or if we specifically asked you for proof of deposit. But what we're really looking for here is a bank statement. It needs to look like a bank statement. So again, if you're downloading something and it only shows a list of transactions, we can't take that. It needs to look like a bank statement like the one shown on screen. This needs to have your address at the top of it, needs to have your full name, the sort code and account number, and then the transaction list underneath. And the transaction list is important because depending where your deposit has come from will depend on what we need to ask for. For example, if you have been saving your deposit for a while, we will generally ask you for 12-month statements to show the buildup of that deposit. If, for example, you're going to be gifted a deposit, we will ask you for a bank statement showing the money coming in, but we may also ask you for additional documentation from the people that's actually gifting you the deposit. So don't be surprised if we ask for that. We need to do this to make sure that all of our checks are completed successfully. Again, bank statements, we will generally always ask you for 3 months bank statements. This is for us to check your incomings and your outgoings to make sure that we've got all of your details correct. And again, it needs to look like a bank statement as it would when it came through the door. So if you are, for example, got a transaction list, then we're not going to be able to take that. It does need to show, again, your name and your transactions and everything else and the date on it. And again, we know that each bank, it looks slightly different. So this is another example of a bank statement that we sometimes see, but it's all got those similarities. It's got your full name and address and the date. And like I said, we generally ask for the last 3 months. If you do get confused or you're not sure what it is that we can accept, just ask your advisor. That's not a problem. We get these questions all the time and we will clarify it for you. And hopefully by watching this video, you'll know exactly what we're looking for and we'll help your application be processed as quickly as it possibly can do. If you do have any questions, obviously just let us know. And if there's anything you think we should cover, drop it in the comments and we'll cover it next time. For now, thank you very much.